see if it works. Uh-oh, I need to turn it around, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe it's just slow to show anything. Hello, are you going to turn around? I don't know. Looks pretty dark to me. Can you turn around to me? There we go. Took a little time. I guess it has its issues. But anyway, so why am I a Protestant? Yeah. I was looking into a video again and thinking, so he says, well, they're not Protestants and all that. Okay, well, I guess I've sorted that out with looking at the material from the Waldensians and then saying that the Waldensians were wrong on some of the things when they were clearly right. On target, But yeah, which is interesting because, the continuing Church of God has a good amount of good stuff. But they also have some things that are clearly wrong. So there, one of the main guys that I see in regards of this, and he talks about they're not Protestant and blah 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 and all that. Yeah, well, I'm a Protestant, and the thing is, am I a Protestant because of Martin Luther? Because he was a Protestant? No. Am I a Protestant because Zwingli was a Protestant? No. Am I a Protestant because of John Knox, that he was a Protestant? No. So what makes me a Protestant? Well, a Protestant is someone protesting. And who are they protesting against? Protesting against the Antichrist. That makes you a Protestant. And that's why I'm a Protestant. It doesn't mean I'm a Lutheran or a Calvinist or a Zwinglinist or a John Knox or whatever. I'm just a Protestant. Because I protest. I protest the Antichrist. I point to where the Antichrist is and protest. And this is nothing new. It goes back to the 1st century. And go to 2 Timothy 1:15 and see the Protestants. And then you can go to the book of Revelation 2:2. So anyway, already Protestants in the 1st century. So what is a Protestant? A Protestant is someone who protests the Antichrist. And that might be an issue in regards to the Church of God, in regards to that view. Because, if I recall, they don't point out who the Antichrist is. I have the document somewhere in all the piles of documents here, where they they point out the Waldensian document, and then he ends out with the last bit saying, they were wrong on this and that. No, they were not wrong on this and that. They were absolutely correct. They're Protestants. So yeah, that might not make the COG not Protestants in regards of, but yeah. Because he's sitting in the video and saying, well, we're not Protestants and this and that. And I was just thinking, well, if you're not Protestants, well, but I guess, it's not a surprise because, again, I've seen this document in regards of and also the Binitarian thing is also wrong. I recall they also pushing that it wasn't a cross and all that. I remember collecting a lot of data points on that as well, that I put it up on his YouTube at that point. All the information I had gathered, I just fixed up, and Yeah, take it or leave it. I don't care if you don't believe it was a cross. Okay, but here's the data. Data points and that. The same thing with the so-called Jehovah's Witnesses, also saying that it's not a cross. But I can't remember all the data points I had that in the past. Probably have written on that on my Facebook page many years ago. So, but in any case, what makes a Protestant a Protestant? Someone who protests the Antichrist. If you do not know who the Antichrist is, you might not be a Protestant, because they protest against the Antichrist. So all these people in our days that proclaim themselves Protestants or use the word Protestants, it's really an empty word most of the time. They might call themselves Protestants, but they're heading back to the Antichrist. That's not very Protestant-like, So, but people don't know what a Protestant is anymore. It's just an empty word. Just an empty word, pretty much. So that's, that's why I'm a Protestant. Are you a Protestant? Absolutely, I'm a Protestant. Now, how did you become a Protestant? Well, I read my Bible. I looked at true history. And, following the data points, and there you go. You have the Antichrist. And lo and behold, all the Protestants were saying the same. They were pointing in direction of the papacy. They were correct. Of course, why wouldn't they? They were zealous in regards to reading their Bible, not like in our days where we are just, don't care, We might have a Bible at home, most of us, but we don't read it, And we don't study it. We don't, there's a word for intensively studying a subject, although I can't remember the word. There's a wonderful word for that. But I've at least seen it once, It would be nice to find that word again. When you intensive study something to try to learn things, that's a word. Anyway. So I was just, I was just thinking about things when he was talking about it. It's like Holy Mother Church and heresies and all that, and he has a lot of good stuff. Don't get me wrong. He has a lot of good stuff, but there's just things that is just wrong, And there's some issues, like the cross thing. Oh, it's a pole. Oh, really? In regards to the binary-tarian, he's a binary-tarian, in regards to. And then he says that these church fathers, so-called fathers, were binitarian as well. I don't get how he can say that. But anyway, or conclude that. But then he says, well, they're not Protestants. Well, okay. Well, I'm a Protestant, and that's just, I'm not going to lay off on my Protestantism. And I'm not a Protestant because of Martin Luther. I'm not a Protestant because, of Calvin. I'm not a Protestant because of John Knox in regards of them being Protestants. I'm a Protestant because I read my Bible, I found out who the Antichrist was, and I'm standing strong on that view. Like any other Protestant. Hey, and Protestants have their own issues, We have a lot of issues, We're not perfect, far from perfect. That's also why we need Christ. But in regards to Protestantism, to protest against the devil's puppet in Rome, well, to stand on truth, absolutely going to do that. Which, again, is one of those interesting things in regards to the COG. I don't have the document at my point, it's somewhere, I have a pile of documents. And I know it's probably over here. In this pile of, I guess, thousands of pages. The question is where it could be on top of the things, but well, no. No, has to be further down the pile. Oh my. Yeah, well, I can't find it. But I know I have it somewhere in regards to the Walt Denson's document on that. Walt Denson and L.P. Genson's. And I found it by actually the Church of God because he was quoting from it. And he had a good amount of good stuff on that. I had my difficult finding it, but I knew it existed because he had quoted from it. So, and I did find it, and but the conclusion he makes in the bottom, I think he is wrong on that. I clearly think he's wrong. He goes into, well, they're wrong on this and that. No, they were absolutely right. On the papacy being the Antichrist and all that, the Waldensians was absolutely correct. Like so many others, I have a book just to the side of me with around 1,000 of years of history proclaiming the papacy the Antichrist. So it's nothing new. It's not a new thing. It's a very, very old idea because people are reading their Bibles and then figure things out. The more you grow in the Bible, the more you solidify things. And Martin Luther said, I'm practically in a corner about this. I can't run anywhere. I'm pretty much cornered. The papacy is the Antichrist. So I don't know if I don't think he wanted that. But he ends up, I'm practically cornered on this. I cannot get around it. The papacy is the Antichrist. So, anyway, and he was right. He was spot on. You can point out that he had many issues here and there, and you can absolutely find things, but he also had some things that he was absolutely spot correct on. Like the papacy being the Antichrist. Like the confession of all those other Protestants dying for the truth. Anyway, I was just, yeah. I actually was thinking I should probably have written it down. It sounded pretty good. Sometimes it stirs you up and you think something and it sounds, it makes the point, why you, and then it doesn't always. But yeah, the papacy is Antichrist. That's just, but the number 666, he's that Antichrist. He's the triune tyrant, there's no question about it. And yet everybody want to look in every other kind of direction than the very specific point that the Bible points to. Oh yeah. Anyway. Take care all of you. May Jehovah be with you and Yeshua most precious pearl. And the spirit of truth be in us all. Amen. Take care.